Hey y'all, welcome back to my mini series 10 Signs You Don't Know Yourself. We're gonna get started with sign number 5, but before we do, I'm Shalise and I'm a life coach for introverts, and I specialize in helping introverts find their identity so that they can live in their purpose. Alright, so let's get started with sign number 5 that you don't know yourself. You have low self-esteem or low self-worth. I'll give you an example of what it looked like for me. Now, I will say that I've noticed a lot of people think that they have higher self-esteem or high self-worth simply because, let's say, they know they're physically attractive and they're confident in that. Whatever job they have right now, they are confident in their ability to do the job, or they're confident in their ability to get a man, right? But that doesn't mean that your self-worth and your self-worth and your value, your self-worth, that doesn't mean that your self-worth and your self-esteem is high. That just means you're confident in certain areas. So then what does having low self-esteem and low self-worth look like? I'll give you an example of what it looked like for me. So I'm a reformed and recovering people pleaser, right? So meaning that I did things to please other people in hopes that my natural willingness to help others and be there for people, or do the things they ask me, or do favors for them, something I naturally something that I am naturally prone to do, I would use that and lean into that in hopes that people would accept me, that people would love me, that they would keep me around, right? Now, I did that because I was taught that growing up through the family that I was raised in, that love is transactional and that you have to be willing to do whatever for the people you love, even if it's actually not best for you, or it's inconvenient, and it simply doesn't make sense, right? So that's one of the ways that I thought that my worth was based in what I could do for other people. Okay, I'll give you an example in friendships. So I had a friend where the friendship was kind of more one-sided, meaning we only hung out when this friend wanted to hang out, and they would come over when they needed somebody to talk to and somebody to hang out with. They would come over, but other than that, we didn't do anything. It was on their terms. So whatever this friend needed, I would be there. I would allow them to come over, talk to me if they needed it, things like that. But that's an overextending of myself, because it could have been last second, it could have been inconvenient, I could have had other things to do, but I would make time for this person whenever they wanted it. No boundaries in place. Okay, so now let's get into a relationship example. So I would, in the relationship, when it was brought to my attention something that I was doing to cause harm or friction in the relationship, I would take accountability and agree to work on the thing that was causing an issue in the relationship. Even when it was times where I'm like, I don't necessarily think I'm all the way to blame here, but I would just take the accountability and try to improve and work on in the areas that the person told me I needed to improve in. Okay, and so that is a healthy, good thing, but I was taking more of my share of the blame, and I was the only one taking the accountability. But I still chose to stay in the relationship, and I chose to continue to accept the blame in order to please this person, in order to make this person happy. So that is another example of having lower self-esteem and self-worth, because it's fine to take accountability. By all means, take as much accountability as you can. But if the other person is causing an issue in the relationship and they never take accountability, and they expect you to take accountability, that's kind of manipulative, and that's playing on the fact that you're willing to take accountability. And so by you just deciding to ignore the problems that they cause in order to please them and make sure they're happy in the relationship, that's a sign of low self-esteem and self-worth, because that means you're willing to deal with not having your needs being met just to have someone. So now let's break down more of what low self-esteem and low self-worth actually is. So the definition of low self-esteem is when someone lacks confidence in who they are and what they can do. Low self-worth is more intense. So the definition of low self-worth is having a generally negative overall opinion of oneself, judging or evaluating oneself critically, and placing a general negative value on oneself as a person. And the negative value would come in for the example I use with people pleasing, because you think that you have to perform well into other people's standards, whatever they are, even if it hurts you, in order to receive love. You think you're so unworthy of love that you better do what they ask, and you better be there for them at the drop of a dime, or they're going to leave your life because they're not going to see the value in you. That's a very negative self view, but it's one that I used to have. And I know that there's other people out here who struggle with people pleasing, or just their low self-worth and low self-esteem may manifest in other ways. But anytime you do things that dishonor you in your existence in order to be accepted, to get money, to get a job, anytime you do that, you have low self-esteem and self-worth. Because if you had higher self-esteem and healthy self-esteem, healthy self-worth, then you would have your standards set in place, and you would only do things and be around people that can meet them, because you understand that you have value and that there is somebody out there who will respect it, and you will not accept anything less. So come back for part 6.